So today's topic is Coulomb's law, that is the force between 2 point charges. So just like your Newton's law of gravitation, Coulomb's law is in inverse square law. Inverse square law means first property is that it is directly proportional to the square of the distances between the two charges. Like if there are two charges Q1 and Q2, they are placed in vacuum at some distance r from each other. Then Coulomb's law states that the force of attraction or repulsion depends upon number one, it depends upon the magnitude of the two charges, that is a product of their magnitudes. Secondly, it depends upon the square of the radius between them. That's why it is called inverse square law. So only two things you have to remember, that F is proportional to Q1, Q2, and F is proportional to 1 upon R square, where R is the distance between the centers of the two charges. Now we have kept these charges in vacuum. This you have to learn, because if the medium changes, then a factor comes, which we are going to discuss today only. So combining these two equations, F proportional to Q1, Q2, let us call it equation number 1. Second, F proportional to 1 by R square. So combining these, we get F proportional to Q1, Q2 upon R square. And if I remove the sign of proportionality, I have to introduce a constant, which is K here. Now the value of this K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Now what is this? It is also called epsilon, or you can call it epsilon. So this is absolute electrical permittivity of the free space, that is vacuum. So this epsilon has got its own value, which is discussed, which will be discussed. Now the complete value of this constant, this is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, where epsilon naught is the absolute electrical permittivity of the free space, that is vacuum. The complete value becomes 9 into 10 is to power 9 of this constant. Which constant? The constant K. For vacuum. For vacuum, this value becomes 9 into 10 is per 9, and along with its units. Now, what are its units? Units you can form from this equation. Like K के units क्या होने चाहिए? Units of F, that is Newton, units of R square, that is meter square, divided by units of charge. Now Coulomb and Coulomb. So it becomes per Coulomb square. So these are the units of this K, whose value is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Now for units of K, you can just form the formula like I have told you. So K will be FR square upon Q1 into Q2. That's why the units become this. Similarly, if I talk about the units of epsilon alone, right? Then again from this formula, what will be the value of epsilon? It will be Q1 Q2 upon 4 pi R square into F. So therefore its units will be inverted. It will be Coulomb square upon meter square upon, yeah, फिर per Newton. So it will be Coulomb square per meter square per Newton. These will be the units of your epsilon. So this was all about the Coulomb's law. Now Coulomb's law may also be asked in the vector form, because it talks about the forces, and the forces are always vectors. So second thing which is to be kept in mind is that the two charges, when we keep those charges at some positions A and B, these two charges may be of same nature or it may be of different nature. Now when the nature of two charges are same, then this force, which is a mutual force of one charge on the other charge, it becomes repulsive force, like here. Like the force exerted by this charge Q1 kept at A on this charge Q2 kept at B, it will be in this direction, because if the charges are same, similar charges, the force will be repulsive. Similarly, charge Q2 will exert a force F12 on Q1, which will be in this direction. And whether it is repulsive or it is attractive, it will always act towards the line joining the two charges. Attractive will come on this side and repulsive on this side. So attractive forces will be arrowed like this. Now let us talk about how to write the Coulomb's law in vector form. Now in vector form, let us say that the two charges which are kept at the positions A and B, they have position vectors r1 vector and r2 vector with respect to any frame of reference having OX, OY, OZ as the three coordinate axes. And R12 will be the position vector or displacement of A to B. You can call it the vector which is telling the position between of A with respect to B. Now your R1 will be OA vector with respect to origin, that is position vector of Q1. R2 will be position vector of Q2, that is OB vector. And AB vector will be the distance of 1 to 2, which can be taken by the triangle law of vectors. A to B distance will be R2 minus R1. Similarly, B to A distance is a distance taken from B to A, that is R2 one vector, and it will be R1 minus R2. Now these two are equal in magnitude but opposite in directions. Then there are unit vectors. Why we have taken these unit vectors? For the sake of forces, because forces, they have direction and their directions are towards these lines, which can be represented in terms of their unit factors. So R12 unit vector will be R12 vector upon its magnitude, and R21 unit vector will be R21 vector upon its magnitude, because any unit vector is equal to vector upon its magnitude. That is your class 11th knowledge. So now the two forces F21 and F12 force in vector form, in their magnitude form they can be written like this, and in the vector form they can be represented with the help of these distances which were taken in the vector form. So you can simply write in terms of these vectors taken along with the unit vector. And if you want to remove the unit vector, then you will get R12 cube here and R12 vector over here, because you put down the value of this R12 unit vector. So after all discussion, what you have conceived, that this force is equal and opposite to this force. So both forces are mutual and their directions are only different. Otherwise, the magnitude wise they are equal. Why? Because these unit vectors were equal and opposite. So that was today's topic of Coulomb's law from your books. I will send you the pages. From your books, you can study the whole complete topic up to here. Then comes the value of the epsilon naught. Unit of epsilon naught we have discussed, and if we want to find out its value, it can again be calculated by taking the value of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which is 9 into 10 raised to power 9. When you substitute this value here and take epsilon on the other side, like the value of 4 and pi is known, you come out with the value 8.85 into 10 is per minus 12 coulomb square per Newton meter square. Per Newton meter square means both are having the values in the denominator. So dimensions of epsilon naught, it can be asked in 1 mark question. That again you can find out using the Coulomb's laws equation, that is F is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square. Take all the terms on the other side, take epsilon naught on one side, and then substitute the values of all dimensions of all these quantities. Q1, Q2 both are charges, and charge has dimension A into T, that is current into time, because current is a fundamental quantity. So A square T square means Q1 Q2, their dimensions, because both are charges. So AT का whole square हो गया होगा यहाँ पे. Then force dimensions, force की dimensions आपको पता ही है, F is equals to ma, so mass into acceleration की dimensions. R square की dimensions L square. So substituting all, we get these dimensions of epsilon naught. Similarly, dimensions of k can also be asked. So dimensions of k can again be calculated from this formula where this whole value is k. So its dimension will depend upon the dimensions of force into r square upon q1, q2. So these will become the dimensions of k. And dimensions of k and epsilon naught are opposite or reciprocals to each other. Then again, a 1 mark or 2 mark question it can be asked that what if the charges are not present in vacuum? Other than vacuum, if there is some other material, any material, any medium, like an insulator material, glass, wax, paper, oil or water, कुछ भी, कोई भी मटेरियल आपको कह दे कि आपके चार्जेस हमने एक ऐसे मीडियम में रख दिए जिसकी परमिटिविटी एप्सिलॉन नॉट नहीं है और इसकी परमिटिविटी मीडियम की समथिंग डिफरेंट दैन एप्सिलॉन नॉट, जिसको हम एब्सोल्यूट नहीं बोलेंगे। अब हम एब्सोल्यूट परमिटिविटी ऑफ वैक्यूम नहीं बोलेंगे, अब हम कहेंगे एब्सोल्यूट परमिटिविटी ऑफ दैट मटेरियल मीडियम। तो क्या फर्क पड़ने वाला है फोर्स पे? सो दिस क्वेश्चन इज आस्क्ड व्हाट हैपेंस टू द फोर्स acting between the two charges when the charges are kept in some dielectric or kept in some medium having dielectric constant और उसकी वैल्यू दी होती है dielectric constant की। Then a simple small change you have to bring in your formula of Coulomb's law. In place of this epsilon naught, you write epsilon. Simply, this is epsilon, that is the permittivity of that medium. And how is it related to the permittivity of free space? This epsilon naught value is, it stands for the absolute permittivity of free space, and this k is called dielectric constant or relative permittivity. So dielectric constant is the value of that medium's dielectric. It is absolute permittivity of that medium becomes dielectric times the absolute permittivity of free space. So ये जो value आपने डाली है, ये क्या है actually? It is k epsilon naught, where k is the dielectric constant of that medium, or it is also called relative permittivity and it is also called specific inductive capacity. So इसके तीन names हैं। ये जो वैल्यू होती है ये मटेरियल के साथ एसोसिएटेड होती है और मटेरियल को हम यहाँ पे डाइलेक्ट्रिक बोल रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑल इंसुलेटिंग मटेरियल्स आर कॉल्ड डाइलेक्ट्रिक्स। सो हमारा एक्सप्रेशन किस में बदल गया? कुछ भी नहीं हुआ, एक्सप्रेशन में एक के डिनोमिनेटर में ऐड हो गया वेयर के एप्सिलॉन नॉट, इन दोनों के प्रोडक्ट को एप्सिलॉन, दैट इज एब्सोल्यूट परमिटिविटी ऑफ द मीडियम कहते हैं। तो हुआ क्या कि जब हमें किसी मीडियम की डाइलेक्ट्रिक कांस्टेंट दी हो और कहा हो कि हमारे चार्जेस अब वैक्यूम में नहीं उस मीडियम में हैं, तो उनकी फोर्स को क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? आप कहेंगे फोर्स रिड्यूसेस बाय अ फैक्टर के, और वो जो के वैल्यू है वो आपको दी होगी, जैसे वाटर की मान लीजिए 80 दी हुई है तो हम कहेंगे फोर्स 80 टाइम्स या 81 टाइम्स रिड्यूस हो गई। ठीक है। नेक्स्ट इज अ डिस्कशन अबाउट द कूलम लॉ एंड द ग्रेविटेशनल लॉ। ग्रेविटेशनल लॉ होता है फिजिकल्स टू जी m1 m2 अपॉन आर स्क्वायर, और ये होता है फिजिकल्स टू के q1 q2 अपॉन आर स्क्वायर। अब ये जो k था ये स्मॉल k था जिसकी वैल्यू ये थी 1/4π/0। इसको स्मॉल k से डिनोट करते हैं हम इस फॉर्मूले में। और ये जो कैपिटल k है ये हमारा डाइलेक्ट्रिक कांस्टेंट आया था मीडियम के लिए। सो k मीन्स एनी कांस्टेंट हम मान लेते हैं अभी, तो ये भी इसका ग्रेविटेशनल कांस्टेंट होता है, इसका k होता है। सो ये जो दोनों कांस्टेंट्स अगर हम रिमूव कर दें तो फोर्सेस दोनों ही सिमिलर से फॉर्मूले हैं। यहाँ पे प्रोडक्ट ऑफ मासेस आ जाता है, यहाँ पे प्रोडक्ट ऑफ चार्जेस आ सकता है, और दोनों ही इनवर्स स्क्वायर लॉ को फॉलो करती हैं बिकॉज बोथ आर डिपेंडेंट अपॉन इनवर्सली द स्क्वायर ऑफ द डिस्टेंस बिटवीन द टू पार्टिकल्स और टू masses. Now, further, we can see that the value of k here as compared to the value of g is much larger. That's why electrical forces are much stronger than the gravitational forces. And if you remember last year आपने किया था comparison, तो electrical forces were 10 is for 36 times stronger than the gravitational forces between the two masses if both are kept at the similar distance. So if I consider the forces between two protons or two electrons, then gravitational forces जो दो प्रोटॉन्स में होती हैं सेम डिस्टेंस पे अगर वो पड़े हैं तो वो 10 is 36 times weaker होती हैं as compared to repulsive forces of electrical coulombs according to Coulomb's force law. सिमिलरली इलेक्ट्रॉन्स के मासेस की अगर बात करें तो उनकी मासेस की वजह से जो उनमें फोर्सेस हैं वो 10 is 43 टाइम्स वीकर होती हैं देन दिस इलेक्ट्रिकल फोर्सेस ऑफ रिपल्शन. Then importance of Coulomb's law states that it is true for the point charges which are separated by large distances, right? And two small distances such as हम इस पे हम distances चाहे छोटे हैं चाहे बड़े हैं Coulomb's law सभी point charges के लिए true होता है. ठीक है जी. And in our daily life we experience many forces which are not gravitational but those are electrical forces. तो ये discussion आपने पढ़ लेनी है. ये फोर्सेस रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं इलेक्ट्रॉन्स की मोशन के लिए जो न्यूक्लियस की तरफ अट्रैक्ट होकर न्यूक्लियस के आसपास इलेक्ट्रॉन्स घूमते हैं वो ड्यू टू कूलम्स फोर्सेस ही अट्रैक्ट होते हैं. और न्यूक्लियस के अंदर जो फोर्स है न्यूक्लियर फोर्स वो इस लॉ को फॉलो नहीं करती. वो और भी स्ट्रॉन्गर फोर्स है और आर स्क्वायर पे डिपेंड नहीं करती. आर की कुछ बिगर पावर पे डिपेंड करती है. तो कूलम्स फोर्स न्यूक्लियस के बाहर तक है न्यूक्लियस के अंदर नहीं है. Then Coulomb's law in vector form, which we have discussed. Then forces between multiple charges. Multiple charges means what if there are more number of charges in a space. So if there are more number of charges and we want to find out the forces between them, forces on one of the particle due to all the other particles. Let us say there are so many charges q1, q2, q3, so on, qn up to qn in some space, and I want to find out what is the net force acting on one of the charges q1 due to all those other forces. Then according to principle of superposition, say it is told that on this particle we find out the individual forces due to all. मीन्स Q1 पे Q2 की कितनी फोर्स है वो फाइंड आउट करेंगे. Q1 पे Q3 की कितनी फोर्स है वो फाइंड आउट करेंगे. फिर ऐसे करते जाएंगे सबकी फोर्सेस फाइंड आउट करेंगे टिल द लास्ट पार्टिकल Qn. और इन सभी फोर्सेस का वी विल फाइंड आउट द वेक्टर सम. सो द नेट वेक्टर सम ऑफ ऑल द फोर्सेस एक्टिंग ऑन द फर्स्ट पार्टिकल. देखिए लिखने का तरीका देखिए यहाँ पे ये हम वेक्टर फॉर्म में लिख रहे हैं F12 F13 F1n. इसका मतलब क्या है फोर्स ऑन द फर्स्ट चार्ज पार्टिकल ड्यू टू सेकेंड, force on the first particle due to third, force on the first particle due to the last charge, right? So total net force on the first charge particle will be the vector sum of all these. So this is due to the this is called the principle of superposition, forces between the multiple charges. So this thing you can study and learn that if a system contains a number of interacting charges, then the net force on any one charge due to the other charges is the vector sum of all the forces exerted on it by all other charges, and the individual forces are unaffected due to the presence of other charges. Then he has expressed different forces with the Coulomb's law formula F12, F13 and so on Fn, and then substituting all these values in that equation number 1, you get that this constant was common, so you took it out and placed all the other factors inside the bracket, and you will find out that you can even express this in terms of this summation law, that 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught common multiplied by, which I can call k here, summation I ranging from 2 to n, and I can just call it q1 qi upon r1 I square r1 I unit vector. So here I has range 2 to n. So this kind of summation expression also for superposition principle is mentioned. Now the next term is electric field, which we will discuss tomorrow. Up to this you have to write the articles in your notebooks. So keep your notebooks ready and start writing everything in the notebooks. by understanding so that it will help you up to learn. Thank you.